Welcome back to the Avatar Legend of Korra series right here at Comicstorian, your #1 place for dramatic readings of your favorite comic books. Last time on Legend of Korra, Commander Guan had brainwashed most of Team Avatar, half the city of Gaoling, and even King Wu in order to keep the dream of the Earth Empire alive. Will Commander Guan take over Gaoling and begin his conquest of the Earth Kingdom, or will Korra and Kuvira be able to stop him? Let's find out. As the Beifong family finally returns to their home, Su Yin orders her sons to take Opal inside. Kuvira holds back, not wanting to see her ex-husband. "Come on, Kuvira, you're going to have to face him sooner or later," Su Yin tells her. They lead Asami inside, still under the influence of Guan's brainwashing, and as they lock the young woman in her room, Kuvira hears a voice from behind her. "I never thought you'd have the courage to return home," Batar Jr. says from behind her. She turns, looking at him. She tries to apologize, making excuses for almost killing him in the past, but Batar shakes his head. "When Mother said you were coming, she mentioned that you were trying to change. I didn't believe her, and I had to see it for myself. But you're exactly the same," he says to her. She tries to follow as he turns and walks away, but the door is slammed in her face. After Kuvira is led away, Korra bangs on Batar's door. She tells him that the Earth Kingdom needs him. Finally, the door opens. "Come in," he whispers. Meanwhile, at Gaoling City Hall, King Wu steps into the mayor's office. The official stands, happy that the election is scheduled to take place in a week. But Wu looks at him, his face a blank slate. "There has been a change of plans. The election will take place today," he says. The mayor is shocked, pointing out that the voters won't even know to show up. But Wu shakes his head and motions to the window. "They're already here," he says. Outside, the people of the city have gathered, their faces all emotionless. The mayor coughs, trying to convince Wu that he needs a few more days. "How dare you defy your king?" Wu shouts. The mayor bows, apologizing and moving to begin the election. At dinner, Korra explains to Kuvira that Batar is willing to put aside his anger to help her reverse Guan's brainwashing. But Batar made it very clear that after you recreate Dr. Sheng's device, he never wants to see you again, Korra tells her, and Kuvira nods her head. "I'll respect his wishes," she whispers. The family consider their options in fighting against Guan. But Su believes that Zhao Fu can't interrupt the elections and must let them play out. Batar enters the room, letting them know that if they can break the brainwashing, the people of Gaoling will turn on Guan. "And you'll be elected Governor Beifong," Su says with a smile, looking at her mother. "Yippee!" Toph grumbles. Though he's not happy about it, Batar motions to Kuvira to join him so that they can get started. After working for a full day, Asami is brought in to test out the machine that Batar has created. She sits down, and Batar places the device on her head. Now for the hard part, figuring out the settings Dr. Sheng used to alter Asami's brainwaves, he tells the group. He begins trying the settings. Each time, Kuvira reads off the reverse commands. "You will no longer obey Commander Guan's orders. The Avatar is no longer your enemy. Your mind is yours again," she repeats. But each time, when Asami opens her eyes, she only says, "I am only loyal to Commander Guan." They worked into the night, but to no avail. "You tried a million different settings. Why didn't any of them work?" Korra questions as they lead Asami away. Batar shakes his head, unsure. "What if you started with someone who hasn't been brainwashed yet?" Kuvira asks as she turns back to the two. Batar nods, admitting that this would give him a baseline and would allow him to calibrate the machine. Korra nods, sitting down and volunteering, but Batar shakes his head. "I can't guarantee your mental well-being, and I won't be responsible for the Avatar's mind getting scrambled," he tells her. And Kuvira immediately moves to the device. "Then I'll volunteer. Commander Guan and what's left of the Earth Empire are my mess to clean up, she says, sitting down. Baatar looks at her and then his mother. Maybe she's changed more than I thought, he whispers. He tells her to relax and begins to click through the settings, and memories flash through Kuvira's mind. An angry young child that refuses to take responsibility for her actions. Eventually, Korra shakes her back to the present. Having gotten the baseline that he needed, Baatar tells Korra to bring Asami back in. Asami is once again hooked to the machine. Baatar activates it, and Kuvira reads through the reverse orders. This time, however, when Asami opens her eyes, she looks at Korra with sadness and love, and Korra is by her side immediately. I'm so sorry you had to go through all that. What do you remember? She asks. But Asami shakes her head and admits that she doesn't remember anything. It's all right. You're back now. I've got you, Korra whispers as she pulls her into a hug. Suddenly, Opal bursts into the room, telling her mother to turn on the radio. They all stare in shock as the radio announcer declares Commander Guan the victor of the election after it was unexpectedly moved to today.
You win some, you lose some,
Toph grumbles. This isn't funny, Mom. Guan stole the election and he used the Earth King to help him do it, Sue tells her mother. Korra quickly gets on the phone to President Moon, filling her in on what happened and about the brainwashing technology.
What?
Julie shouts.
Sounds like she's taking the news well,
Toph notes. Korra continues to fill in the president on their plan, but Julie tells her not to do a thing. If word gets out that the Earth King has been compromised, who knows what kind of chaos that might bring? I want to be very careful about how this situation is handled, Julie tells her. She explains that she needs to speak with the other world leaders about how to proceed, but orders Korra to bring Kuvira back to the city. Yes, Madam President. Korra nods and hangs up the phone. When she gives the group the news, Kuvira isn't shocked by the president's decision, and she turns to Baatar. I guess you're getting your wish. You'll never see me again, she tells him. She puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him that it broke her heart when she had to choose the Earth Empire over him. But I wanted you to know, I truly did love you, she says. He stares at her for a moment. It was nice working with you again, Kuvira, he tells her, and walks out the room. That night, Asami stares out the window of the guest room that she and Korra share. She was shocked that she can't remember what's happened the last few days. Did I say or do anything I might have regretted? She asks Korra. But the Avatar crosses the room and hugs her. She knows that it wasn't really Asami talking. Let's just put that behind us, okay? She says. As she pulls Asami back to bed, there is a knock at the door. Sue bursts into the room, ignoring their questions and asking if they knew what Kuvira was planning. What are you talking about? Korra asks. Sue looks at them both for a moment. I found the guards unconscious outside her door. Kuvira's gone, she says sharply. As they move through the grounds, Asami shakes her head and points out that Kuvira was planning this all along. But Korra doesn't think so, filling her in on everything Kuvira did while Asami was brainwashed. Korra looks at Sue. My bet? Kuvira decided not to wait around for the diplomatic process to play out, which means there's only one place she could be going. Back to Gowling. Standing in his new office, Commander Guan thanks the mayor for his years of service as the guards drag him out, and the doors shut behind them. Hello again, Commander, Kuvira says, stepping from her hiding place behind the door. So, have you come to try and stop me again? Guan asks, not shocked to find Kuvira hiding in his office, but she shakes her head. I'm here to propose a deal that benefits us both, she explains. Guan looks at her, asking what she has in mind. She begins to pace, explaining that it has become clear that she can never go back to how things were before she started the Earth Empire. So I've decided that my only path left is to follow yours, she explains. But Guan becomes angry, telling her that he will not step aside for her once again to take command. "I'm in charge of the Empire now," he shouts. But she assures him that she has no desire to take control once again. She merely wants to forget. "I want to forget how I lost my temper and nearly killed my mother. I want to forget the Beifongs and my life in Zhaofu. But most of all, I want to wipe away the memory of all those I hurt. And I believe that you have the technology that can help me with that," she tells him. She knows that he wouldn't allow her back without brainwashing, and that it's the only way that he would trust her again. "So, do we have a deal?" she asks. Overhead, Team Avatar recons from the back of Oogie. Sue looks down, spotting the plane that Kuvira used to escape, but not the woman herself. Opal looks back, angry that Kuvira once again took advantage of her mother. "We don't know that. Until I learn otherwise, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt," Sue says to her daughter. "Just like you always do," Opal whispers to herself. Within the city, Kuvira is strapped to a chair when Guan orders Dr. Sheng to begin. Kuvira moves her hand as the two turn their backs, and the other devices begin to lift into the air. "I'm so pleased I finally get to share my invention with you," Dr. Sheng says with a smile. But the helmets suddenly fall on their heads, crumpling slightly at Kuvira's metal bending. Kuvira then rips her way free of the chair, moving through the room. "What are you doing?" "Beating you at your own game," Kuvira tells him. She begins to turn the dials on the machine, telling Guan that he'll have no choice but to tell the world how he stole the election. But the door slides open to reveal Bolin and Mako. "Release them at once," Mako orders. "I suspected you might try something, so I called them in as backup," Guan tells her as he begins to free himself from the helmet. Mako and Bolin attack, launching fire across the room. Kuvira dodges, picking up a metal table and throwing it at them. She dashes outside, moving through the Earth Empire camp. "There's Kuvira, and she's in trouble!" Sue shouts as she spots the woman from above. Opal brings Oogie down, landing between the brothers and the fleeing warrior. "I'll handle them," Korra shouts as she dismounts. She hits them with a wind blast, apologizing for hurting them. Sue, Opal, and Toph all dismount as the Earth Empire soldiers begin to surround them. The three women lash out, hitting the soldiers with their bending.
"That's what happens when you mess with 3 generations of Beifongs!"
Toph laughs as she drops another 3 soldiers. Amid the fighting, Dr. Sheng tries to escape out the back with her research, but she is met by Asami, armed with her shock glove. "This is for messing with my brain," she snaps as she shocks the woman into unconsciousness. Guan jumps into a jeep, trying to flee, but Kuvira steps into his path. "Hope you buckled up," she snaps as she crumples the front of the jeep. It flips through the air, sending Guan flying. He hits the ground, but manages to struggle to his feet. "You don't give up, do you?" he hisses. He bends several blades of metal at Kuvira, but the woman catches them, twisting them into a metal whip. She lashes out, but Guan uses an earth pillar to launch himself into the air. He throws a rock at her, smashing it against her shoulder and throwing her to the ground. He throws the destroyed jeep at her next, but Kuvira stands, bending the metal and splitting the jeep in half as it flies towards her. She throws more shards of metal at him, pinning him to the wall. "Still think I'm a spineless coward?" she asks. Guan looks at her in fear, finally giving up. "It's too late for that. I'm making certain you never rise again," she snarls at him, bending a sharp piece of metal above her head. But Sue comes running up, stopping Kuvira as she does. "Killing Guan won't solve anything, and it won't bring you peace," she tells the young woman. Kuvira pauses for a moment before dropping the piece of metal. "You're right," she whispers, but anger once again appears in her eyes. "But make no mistake, Commander Guan, you're finished, and the Earth Empire is over for good," she tells him. Fear still fills Guan's eyes. "Everyone, stand down," he commands his forces. And with this, the fighting is done. Bolin, Mako, and King Wu are the first of the brainwashed to be freed, and they are all shocked afterwards. "Bolin, you're okay!" Opal shouts as she hugs him. "My brain is back!" King Wu shouts as he hugs Mako, who pats him gently on the back. Later, the mayor stands with Korra, Kuvira, and King Wu, while the citizens of Gaoling are broken from their brainwashing. The mayor thanks Korra for her help, but she motions to Kuvira. "You should really be thanking Kuvira. If she hadn't taken matters into her own hands, Guan would still be in power," Korra explains. Even with these words, Korra turns to Kuvira and reminds her that she isn't off the hook. "I still have my orders to bring you back to Republic City." The mayor turns to King Wu, asking if they should move forward with the election as it was originally planned. And with a look of determination, King Wu calls together the people of the city. He apologizes for rushing democracy into the Earth Kingdom, and promises that each state will come up with its own timeline for their first elections. "I refuse to force my will upon the people the way that Commander Guan did. I am still committed to transforming the kingdom so that its governments represent everyone. But until that time comes, I will continue to serve as your king," Wu tells the crowd. Everyone cheers and claps as the king steps away.
Does this mean I'm off the hook?
Toph asks. Wu nods, hoping that the elderly Beifong will still run when the elections do take place.
Don't get your hopes up, Spindleshanks. I've had enough with political shenanigans. I prefer the swamp,
she tells him. Back in Republic City, the court comes to order once again. This time, Kuvira confesses to every accusation leveled at her. She admits that she wanted to take power and change the world, that she didn't think of the consequences or the people she would hurt. "I just hope that by taking full responsibility for what I've done, I can begin to heal some of the pain that I've caused," she says. Afterwards, Kuvira is led out of the court by the White Lotus guards. Team Avatar waits for her, and Korra steps forward. "I respect everything you said in there, Kuvira. You really redeemed yourself," she tells the woman. Sue and her family walk towards them down the hall, and Sue steps forward, apologizing for not being a better mother to Kuvira when she was younger. "Perhaps I could have guided you on a more appropriate path," she explains when Kuvira is surprised by her words. "You have nothing to apologize for. I'm sorry for never fully appreciating what an amazing, selfless mother you are," Kuvira tells her. Sue looks at Kuvira for a moment before embracing her in a loving hug. When she pulls away, Sue explains that she spoke with the president and the city has agreed to release Kuvira into Zhao Fu's custody. "I'm going home?" Kuvira asks, shocked. Sue nods, explaining that she will be under house arrest, and if she even thinks about escaping, she will be thrown back into Republic prison. Opal steps forward, smiling. "You may not have been born a Beifong, but you'll always be part of the family," she says with a smile. And that brings us to the conclusion for the Legend of Korra's story arc, Ruins of the Empire. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon to get notifications when new videos go live. And if you want to support us even more, you can support us over at patreon.com/Comicstorian, where $2 gets you early access to a lot of great content. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.